6 months after Harold Keller's death, the familiar sound of woodworking machines echoed through the Keller mobile workshop as Sabine turned off the last piece of equipment for the day. October in Augsburg brought that penetrating cold that she had felt most intensely since Harold had left. 6 months, 6 long months trying to keep the company they had built together during their 28 years of marriage going on her own. "Frau Keller, do you need anything before I leave?" asked Klaus, the company's oldest carpenter, as he organized his tools. "No, Klaus, thank you." "Have a good evening," replied Sabine, forcing a smile. It was always like this. Everyone treated her with excessive delicacy, as if she were about to break at any moment. Alone in her office, Sabine looked at the financial reports scattered across her desk. The numbers didn't lie. The company was surviving, but not thriving. Harold had always taken care of the business side, international contacts and expansion strategies. She understood quality, production and design, but international marketing, exporting, that was uncharted territory. That's when she saw the notification flashing on her laptop. The European Furniture Business Network group on LinkedIn had new messages. Harold had joined this group years ago, but she rarely paid attention to it. Maybe it was time to give it a try. The discussion revolved around the challenges of exporting to emerging markets. Dozens of comments from entrepreneurs across Europe shared experiences, difficulties, and successes. And then, one comment caught her eye. Mehmet Özkan, CEO, Istanbul Premium Imports. As an importer established in Turkey for 15 years, I can say that German quality is still the gold standard here, especially handcrafted furniture. The Turkish market is hungry for German authenticity. It would be interesting to connect with serious producers who are looking for real expansion, not just opportunism. Sabine clicked on the profile. Mehmet Özkan, 35, graduated in business administration from Istanbul University, CEO of Istanbul Premium Imports for 15 years. The photos showed a well-dressed man with a confident smile, posing next to containers full of goods at trade fairs and in meetings with other business people. There was something about his approach that seemed different. He wasn't the typical aggressive salesman trying to push impossible deals. He talked about long-term partnership, sustainable growth, and respect for German tradition. Without thinking twice, Sabine typed a reply. Sabine Keller, Keller Mobile, Augsburg. Interesting perspective, Mr. Özkan. Our company has been producing handmade German furniture for 3 generations. We have always been curious about the Turkish market, but have never found the right partner. Would it be possible to exchange some ideas? The reply arrived in less than 2 hours. Frau Keller, what an honor to hear from Keller Mobile. I looked up your company. Impressive family tradition and exceptional quality, exactly what our customers are looking for. I would be very interested in discussing possibilities. Could you send me a private message with my contact details? I have a few ideas that might interest you. Sabine hesitated. Harold always told her to be careful with online contacts, but this was LinkedIn, a professional platform, and she desperately needed new opportunities. Mehmet's private message arrived the next morning, accompanied by a detailed proposal. Dear Sabine, may I call you that? I stayed up late thinking about our conversation. I see enormous potential for partnership. The Turkish premium furniture market is worth $2.3 billion annually, and 67% of consumers prefer European brands. Attached is a market report I commissioned last year. Please take a look at pages 23 to 27 on German furniture specifically. I have 127 points of sale in Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. My customers pay a premium for authentic German quality. Your company would be perfect. Initial proposal, an exclusive Keller line for the Turkish market. We would start with a $45,000 trial order, growing as demand increases. A 35% margin for you, well above the German domestic market. I know this is a lot of information, but I am genuinely excited. It has been a long time since I have felt this excited about a new project. Can we schedule a video call this week? I prefer face-to-face for serious business. I look forward to hearing from you. Mehmet P.S. My grandmother always said that Germans make the best furniture in the world. She was right. The attached report was impressive. 47 pages of detailed analysis, colorful charts, accurate statistics. It looked legitimate, professional, and the numbers were tempting. Sabine called Thomas that evening. "Mom, this sounds too good to be true," said her son, ever cautious like his father. "Do you know this man?" "Not personally, but Thomas, look at the numbers. If we get even 10% of what he's proposing..." "Mom, please, at least let me research this company before you commit to anything." "I'm not committing to anything. It's just a conversation." But in truth, Sabine had already made up her mind. It was the first time in months she had felt anything other than sadness and worry. Hope, possibility. A chance to not only keep the company afloat, but to make it grow. Harold would be proud. The video call was scheduled for Thursday at 8 p.m. German time, 10 p.m. Istanbul time. Mehmet insisted on the late hour. "After my team leaves, I can focus completely on our conversation." When the call started, Sabine was positively impressed. Mehmet was exactly as he appeared in the photos, well-dressed, warm smile, looking successful. The office behind him looked sophisticated, with awards on the wall and a view of what appeared to be the Bosphorus. "Sabine, what a pleasure to finally see you," said Mehmet in near-perfect German, with just a slight charming accent. "I studied German for 8 years at university. I've always had a passion for German culture." The conversation flowed naturally. Mehmet demonstrated impressive knowledge of the furniture industry, spoke fondly of German quality, and showed her photos of furniture he had already imported. More importantly, he listened attentively when Sabine talked about the challenges of running a family business after the loss of her husband. "I'm so sorry for the loss of your husband," Mehmet said with genuine sincerity. "My father also died young. I know how hard it is to run a family business on your own. But you are strong, Sabine. I can see it in your eyes." It was the kind of conversation Sabine hadn't had in months. Someone who treated her like a competent businesswoman, not a fragile widow. Someone who saw potential where others saw only problems. "I have a proposal," Mehmet said at the end of the 2-hour call. "How about we start small? You send me a detailed catalog and I'll do some market research specific to your products. No strings attached, just exploring possibilities." It sounded reasonable, more than reasonable. It sounded like the beginning of something promising. Sabine hung up smiling for the first time in weeks. 2 months after the first contact, video calls became routine. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. sharp, Sabine and Mehmet discussed business, the market, strategies. But gradually the conversations extended beyond the professional. "How was your day?" became the natural opening question. Mehmet was always genuinely interested in Sabine's activities, the challenges at the factory, and the small successes of everyday life. "Today we finished that dining room set for the Schmidts," Sabine said during a call in November. "Klaus said it was one of the most beautiful pieces we've ever made." "Klaus is the veteran carpenter, right? The one who's been with you for 20 years? Mehmet asked, remembering perfectly the details Sabine had mentioned weeks earlier. This attention to detail impressed Sabine. Harold used to do that, remember little things she mentioned. It was rare to find someone who really listened. "Exactly. Klaus knows every inch of the factory. Sometimes I think he knows more about wood than I do," Sabine laughed. "I doubt it," said Mehmet with a warm smile. "I can see the passion in your eyes when you talk about your work. It's something special, Sabine. It's not just business to you. It's art, it's family, it's tradition." The conversations revealed more about both of their personal lives. Mehmet talked about his difficult divorce 2 years earlier. "She didn't understand my dedication to work, about the pressure of running the family business. My father built everything from scratch, and now I'm the one who has to carry on the legacy. About the loneliness of being an entrepreneur. It's hard to find people who really understand the responsibilities we have." Sabine identified completely. Exactly. People think that being an owner is just about receiving money. They don't see the sleepless nights, the constant worries, the weight of knowing that other families depend on your decisions. "You understand," said Mehmet, looking directly at the camera. "It's rare to find someone who really understands." In December, Mehmet sent the research report he had promised. 63 pages of detailed analysis on the potential of Keller furniture in the Turkish market. It included price surveys, competition analysis, demand projections, even mock-ups of how the products would be presented in stores. "Mehmet, this must have cost a fortune to produce," said Sabine, impressed by the professional quality of the document. "Investment, not cost," he replied. "When I see real potential, I spare no effort. And Sabine, I see a lot of potential here." The report showed even more impressive figures than the initial estimates. Projected demand of $780,000 in the first year, growing to $2.1 million in the third year. Profit margins of 42%, almost double what Sabine was achieving in the German market. "Thomas, you have to see this," Sabine said on the phone to her son that evening. "The numbers are incredible. Mom, I researched this company. I found the website, some online references, but something doesn't add up. The website was only created 18 months ago. For a 15-year-old company, that's strange. Maybe they recently revamped the website. Thomas, you haven't seen the report. It's extremely professional. No one would spend that much money and time on something fake. I'm just asking you to be careful. Dad always said, 'Your dad isn't here,'" Sabine exploded, surprising herself with the intensity of her emotion. "I'm sorry, Thomas. I didn't mean it. It's just that your dad was always too cautious. Maybe it's time to take a little risk." The silence on the other end of the line lasted for several seconds. "All right, Mum, just promise me you won't make any big decisions without talking to me first." "I promise." But Sabine was already mentally committed. Her conversations with Mehmet had become the highlight of her days. For the first time since Harold's death, she had something to be excited about. Someone who made her laugh, who showed genuine interest in her life, who made her feel smart and capable again. During a particularly long call in December, when it was already past midnight night in Turkey, Mehmet seemed different, more vulnerable. "Sabine, can I confess something? I'm developing feelings that go beyond the professional." Sabine's heart raced. "Mehmet, I know it's complicated. We're from different countries, different cultures. But there's something about you. Your strength, your intelligence, your passion for what you do. I can't stop thinking about you." Sabine was silent for a moment. This was what she had secretly hoped to hear, but she didn't know how to respond. I feel the same way," she finally admitted. "But like you said, it's complicated." "It doesn't have to be," Mehmet said softly. "Love knows no boundaries. My grandmother was German, you know. She met my grandfather during a trip to Istanbul in the 1960s. They proved that different cultures can come together beautifully." The story was touching, romantic, and Sabine wanted to believe it. "What are you suggesting?" she asked. "That we see where this takes us, no pressure, no rush, just let's be honest about our feelings." That night, Sabine went to bed with feelings she hadn't experienced in years. Butterflies in her stomach, anticipation, the delicious feeling of being desired, admired, courted. Maria, her best friend, didn't share her enthusiasm. "Sabine, you barely know this man. Online romance is one thing, but you're talking about serious business, real money. Maria, you're being paranoid. Mehmet is a gentleman, cultured, successful, respectful. When was the last time I met someone like that?" "Exactly my point. When something seems too perfect, maybe I deserve something perfect after everything I've been through this year." Maria sighed. "Just promise me you'll take it slow, please." But slowly did not describe Sabine's feelings. By January, the conversations had become daily. Mehmet sent flowers to the factory to brighten your day, remembered small details about her routine, "How was your doctor's appointment? I hope it's nothing serious," and constantly complimented not only her beauty but her business acumen. "You have a brilliant mind for business," he said during a call. "Harold was a lucky man, but now you're free to show your true potential." It was exactly what Sabine needed to hear. Validation, recognition, the feeling that she could be more than just the widow who inherited a company. She could be a successful international businesswoman. In February, Mehmet made the proposal that would change everything. "Sabine, I want to meet you in person." I want to see your factory, meet Klaus, and fully understand how you work. I'm thinking of traveling to Germany next month. Sabine's heart almost stopped. You would come here? To Augsburg? For you, Sabine. I would come for you. March preparations for the visit. The news that Mehmet was coming to Germany electrified Sabine in a way she hadn't felt in years. 3 months of daily conversations, growing complicity, feelings blossoming across the computer screen, would finally materialize into a real encounter. Where is he staying? Asked Maria, clearly concerned, as they drank coffee in the factory kitchen. At the Hotel Maximilian. He booked the executive suite for a week, replied Sabine, unable to hide the excitement in her voice. He said that when he comes to Germany for important business, he doesn't skimp. A week? Sabine, that's a long time for a first date. Maria, it's not a first date. We've been talking every day for months. I know him better than some people I've seen in person for years. Maria shook her head. Talking on video isn't the same as being physically with someone. People can behave very differently in person. But Sabine didn't want to hear any reservations. She was too busy planning. She had the main office quickly remodeled, bought a new dress for the first dinner, and even hired a cleaning company to make the factory spotless. I want him to see that we are serious professionals, she explained to Klaus, who watched the preparations with typical German skepticism. Frau Keller, with all due respect, our quality has spoken for itself for 30 years. We don't need theater to impress anyone, said the veteran carpenter. It's not theater, Klaus, it's professional presentation. There's a difference. Thomas came from Munich the weekend before Mehmet's visit. Sabine hoped he would share her excitement, but her son seemed more worried than ever. Mom, I got more information about Istanbul Premium Imports. The company does exist, but... See? You were being paranoid. Let me finish. The company exists, but there are some inconsistencies. The addresses in the official records don't match the office address he shows on video calls, and I managed to talk to a German importer who has been working in Turkey for 15 years. He's never heard of the company or Mehmet Özkan. Sabine felt a twinge of irritation. Thomas, Turkey is a big country. It's impossible to know every businessman, and as for the addresses, maybe they moved recently. Mom, please just keep it a formal business meeting. Don't let it get personal until we're sure who he really is. Are you questioning my judgment? I'm trying to protect you, and protect the company Dad built. The mention of Harold silenced them both. It was always like this. The shadow of the family patriarch loomed over every important decision. Your father isn't here to make decisions anymore, Sabine said finally, her voice firm. Now I'm the one who has to decide the future of the company. And Mehmet represents the best opportunity we've had in years. Thomas sighed in defeat. At least promise me that we'll keep the company's finances completely separate until we have a formal contract verified by lawyers. I promise, Sabine said, but her words sounded automatic. In fact, she had already made a decision she hadn't told anyone about. Mehmet had suggested that, as a show of mutual good faith, each side make a symbolic investment before the formal meeting. For him, that meant paying his travel and lodging expenses in advance, plus a $5,000 fee for detailed technical analysis of the production processes. For Sabine, it would mean transferring $15,000 to a joint account they would open, showing her seriousness about the partnership. It's traditional in Turkish business, Mehmet had explained. It shows that both sides are financially committed, not just with words. Sabine had hesitated at first, but Mehmet's logic seemed sound. Think of it this way, my love, he had said. He already called her my love in their most intimate conversations. When you go to an expensive restaurant, you pay in advance for the reservation. It's the same thing. We demonstrate our seriousness through financial commitment. The transfer was made discreetly, through Sabine's personal account, not the company's. $15,000 she had saved over the years, money Harold had never known she kept, for emergencies. Confirmation of the transfer arrived on Monday morning. Mehmet called immediately, beaming with joy. Sabine, we received your transfer. I'm so thrilled. This confirms that you are the serious partner I was hoping for. Now I can finalize all the preparations for our meeting. Did you do your part too? Asked Sabine. Of course, $5,000 has already been transferred to our joint account. and an extra $3,000 as a little surprise, an early gift for our new partnership. Sabine was touched by his generosity. Mehmet constantly exceeded expectations, always giving more than he promised. It was impossible not to trust someone like that. On Tuesday, 3 days before Mehmet's arrival, Sabine received an unexpected package. Inside was a set of Turkish jewelry, a necklace and earrings with traditional blue stones, accompanied by a handwritten note. "My dear Sabine, this jewelry belonged to my German grandmother. She always said that one day it should go back to a special German woman. When I see you on our video calls, I know she would approve of my choice. Wear them when we meet. I want you to feel like the queen you are. With all my love and admiration, Mehmet P.S. Only 3 more days. I can't wait to finally hold you in my arms." The jewelry was beautiful, clearly antique and valuable. Maria, who was present when Sabine opened the package, looked even more concerned. "Sabine, this is very intense for someone you've never met in person. Family jewelry? Declarations of love. Don't you think it's happening too fast?" "Maria, you're my best friend, but you're being unfairly cynical. Mehmet is a romantic, traditional man. In his culture, gestures like this are normal." "What culture? Do you really know his culture or just what he tells you?" The question bothered Sabine more than she admitted, but on Wednesday, when Mehmet called to confirm that he was at the Istanbul airport to board his flight to Munich, all her doubts vanished. "In 12 hours I'll be there, my love. 12 hours until we can finally hold each other." His voice was filled with genuine emotion. It was impossible to fake that kind of anticipation, that pure joy. "I'm so nervous," Sabine admitted. "What if you don't like me in person?" "Impossible," Mehmet replied tenderly. "You're even more beautiful on the inside than you are on the outside. It's an irresistible combination." That night, Sabine could hardly sleep. She changed her clothes 3 times before deciding what to wear to pick him up at the airport. She checked and rechecked the week's schedule, a visit to the factory on Thursday morning, lunch at the best restaurant in Augsburg, a meeting with business documents on Friday, a romantic dinner on Saturday. Everything seemed perfect, planned, romantic. She didn't know that on the other side, in a small apartment in the suburbs of Ankara, a 35-year-old man named Mehmet, who had never been a businessman, never had an office in Istanbul, and whose German grandmother was a complete fabrication, was finalizing preparations for the most ambitious scam of his career. The jewelry she had sent, bought for $150 at a tourist bazaar. The business documents, forged by a well-known fraud expert. The joint bank account, controlled entirely by him without Sabine's knowledge. Mehmet smiled as he stowed away fake passports, cloned credit cards, and a laptop containing detailed profiles of 6 other German women who believed they were in love with the same successful Turkish businessman. Sabine Keller would be just another one. Thursday, March 14th, Munich Airport. Sabine arrived at Munich Airport 2 hours before Mehmet's flight landed. Nervousness and excitement mingled in equal proportions as she waited in the international arrivals area, wearing the new blue dress and Turkish jewelry he had sent her. Every passenger who emerged from the immigration control area made her heart race. Would she recognize Mehmet in person? 4 months of video calls had created a deep intimacy, but she knew that face-to-face encounters were different. Then she saw him. Mehmet emerged from the crowd as if he were stepping out of a movie. A perfectly tailored dark suit, impeccably styled hair, and a radiant smile she recognized instantly. He was taller than she had imagined, even more imposing than in their video calls. "Sabine!" he shouted, opening his arms. The hug was warm and enveloping. Mehmet smelled of expensive masculine cologne. His hands were firm and steady. For a moment, all of Maria and Thomas's worries completely dissipated. "You're even more beautiful in person," he whispered in her ear, holding her longer than a simple business greeting would warrant. "You too," replied Sabine, feeling dizzy. "How was your flight?" "Long, but worth every minute knowing you'd be waiting for me." During the drive to Augsburg, Mehmet was exactly as Sabine had expected. Charming, attentive, interested in everything. He commented positively on the Bavarian landscape, asked about historical sites along the way, and complimented her car. "A BMW? German quality really is superior." "I'm looking forward to seeing your factory tomorrow," he said, placing his hand gently on hers as she drove. "4 months of talking about your furniture, and finally I'll get to see the magic happen." The touch was intimate without being intrusive. Sabine felt like a teenager, that delicious feeling of new romance she thought she'd never experience again. At the hotel, Mehmet insisted that Sabine come up to see the suite. "I want your opinion on the space. If we're going to be working together this week, I need an environment that makes you feel comfortable." The executive suite at the Hotel Maximilian was impressive. A large living room, a fully equipped office, and a panoramic view of Augsburg. Mehmet had clearly invested in first impressions. "It's perfect," said Sabine, admiring the decor. "You have good taste." "I've learned that investing in quality always pays off," he replied, opening a bottle of champagne that was already waiting on ice. "Just like you do with your furniture." They toasted to new partnership and new possibilities. The champagne was exceptional. Dom Perignon 2010. "Mehmet, this must have cost a fortune." "Sabine," he interrupted gently, taking her hands, "when something is important to me, I spare no effort. And you, our partnership, is very important to me." Dinner that evening was at the most elegant restaurant in Augsburg. Mehmet had reserved a private table and ordered the tasting menu with wine pairings. Throughout the meal, he demonstrated impressive knowledge of cuisine, wine, and German culture. "My grandmother taught me to appreciate German culture from an early age," he explained when Sabine commented on his knowledge. "She said that Germans know better than anyone how to combine tradition with innovation." They talked about business, but the conversation naturally and constantly drifted to personal matters. Mehmet shared stories about his family, apparently traditional and close-knit. His studies in Germany during college. "I spent a semester in Heidelberg, the best time of my life." His professional ambitions. "I want to build a lasting commercial bridge between our countries." "And romantically?" asked Sabine, encouraged by the champagne and the intimate atmosphere. Mehmet smiled wistfully. "Since my divorce, I've been very cautious. My ex-wife, it was a painful experience. She couldn't understand my dedication to work, my ambition. She said I loved business more than her. And was that true? At the time, maybe. But I've learned that success without someone to share it with is empty." He looked directly into her eyes. "That's why when I met you, someone who understands business as well as the heart, I knew you were special." Sabine felt her chest tighten. "Mehmet, I know it's early for declarations, but I need to be honest. These 4 months talking to you have changed my perspective on many things, on business, on life, on possibilities." The evening ended with a tender kiss at the hotel door. Nothing rushed or invasive, just the kind of romantic kiss that confirmed mutual feelings without pressuring for more. "See you tomorrow, mein Schatz," Mehmet murmured in perfect German. Sabine drove home on cloud 9. It was like living a fairy tale. The charming, international, successful businessman who crossed oceans for her. Maria was wrong. Thomas was wrong. Sometimes good things really did happen. The next morning, Mehmet arrived at the factory promptly at 9 a.m. He was wearing a more casual but still elegant suit and carrying an Italian leather briefcase that screamed quality. "Good morning, Klaus," he greeted the carpenter in German, extending his hand firmly. "Sabine told me a lot about you. It's an honor to meet the master craftsman." Klaus, usually reserved with strangers, was clearly impressed by the respect shown. "Herr Özkan, welcome to Keller Möbel." The tour of the factory was a triumph. Mehmet demonstrated impressive technical knowledge, asked intelligent questions about production processes, and sincerely praised the quality of the woodwork. He took hundreds of photos, always asking permission first. "For my clients in Turkey," he explained, "they need to see that I'm not just talking about German quality, I'm showing it." Over lunch, Mehmet presented even more detailed figures. He had brought a laptop with a professional PowerPoint presentation showing sales projections, margin analysis, and delivery schedules. "Based on what I've seen today, I can increase our initial estimate," he said, opening colorful spreadsheets. "The quality is higher than I expected. I can guarantee an initial order of $67,000, not $45,000. Sabine felt her heart race. $67,000 represented nearly 3 months of factory revenue. But to secure that volume, Mehmet continued, I need to show my clients that our partnership is solid. They're conservative. They need guarantees. What kind of guarantees? A financial demonstration of mutual commitment. You've done your part with the $15,000. Now I need to do mine. Mehmet opened his briefcase and took out a bank document. I transferred $30,000 to our joint account this morning. Your contribution plus mine totals $45,000, exactly the amount of the initial order we will guarantee. The document looked legitimate. Bank letterhead, official signature, accurate numbers. Sabine was touched by the generosity and symbolism. But Mehmet, that means you've invested twice as much as I have. Because I believe twice as much in this partnership, he smiled. And because, well, you mean a lot to me, Sabine. It's not just business. That afternoon, they visited 3 of Sabine's customers in Augsburg, families who had purchased Keller furniture over the years. Mehmet was charming with everyone, genuinely interested in the stories behind the furniture, praising its durability and design. Can I use these references with my Turkish clients, he asked. Testimonials from satisfied German customers would have a huge impact. Of course, replied Sabine, proud to showcase the family business's legacy. At the end of the day, as they dined at a traditional Bavarian restaurant, Mehmet became more serious. Sabine, I need to make a confession. Her heart raced. What? Initially, you were just another potential business partner. I contact dozens of European business people every month, but you're different. Different how? You make me want to be a better man. When I talk to you, I don't just think about profits or expansion. I think about building something lasting, something meaningful. He took her hand on the table. I think about the future. What kind of future? A future where we no longer need video calls, where we can build not just a business partnership, but a life partnership. It was the most romantic declaration Sabine had heard in decades. Mehmet continued, I know it's early. I know we're from different worlds, but true love knows no boundaries. My grandparents proved that. That night, Sabine invited Mehmet to see her home. It was a significant step. Harold had been the only man to enter her home since they were married 30 years earlier. The house reflected decades of family life, photos of Thomas as a child, furniture made in their own factory, memories of a life shared. Mehmet observed everything with respectful awe. I can see why this place is special to you, he said, looking at a photo of Harold and Sabine on their wedding day. He looked like a good man. He was, the best. And he wouldn't want you to be alone forever. It was true, Harold had always said that if anything happened to him, he wanted Sabine to be happy again. They ended up falling asleep together on the sofa, watching an old German movie that Mehmet said he knew from his university days. Nothing sexual happened, just closeness, comfort, the feeling of not being alone for the first time in months. On Friday morning, Mehmet woke up before Sabine and made breakfast. I learned from my German grandmother, he explained when she came downstairs and found the table set with bread, jams, and strong coffee. You're too perfect to be real, Sabine laughed. I'm real, and I'm here, and if you let me, I want to keep being here. It was the perfect moment, the perfect week, the perfect man. Sabine didn't know that too perfect to be real was exactly the problem. Friday, March 22nd, the day it all fell apart. Friday morning began like the ones before, with Mehmet being absolutely charming. He had insisted on making breakfast again, this time with a surprise, fresh flowers on the table and a small wrapped box. What's this? Asked Sabine, still in her robe, her hair tousled from sleep. Open it, smiled Mehmet, clearly pleased with himself. Inside the box was a ring, not an engagement ring, but a traditional Turkish ring with a small but beautiful blue stone. It's a promise ring, he explained. In my culture, it represents serious intentions without the pressure of an immediate commitment. Sabine was speechless. The week had been a whirlwind of emotions, and now this. Mehmet, it's beautiful, but nothing, he interrupted gently, sliding the ring onto her right ring finger. It's just a promise that we'll continue to explore this special connection we have. The ring fit perfectly, as if it were meant for her. Today we're going to finalize the business contracts, Mehmet said, switching to professional mode. I brought all the necessary documents. Once we sign, I can guarantee the first order of $67,000 next week. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. at the factory office. Mehmet had organized everything meticulously, contracts in German and Turkish, detailed commercial terms, delivery schedules, technical specifications. Impressive, Klaus said, leafing through the documents. Very professional. Of course, Mehmet replied. Sabine deserves only the best. But when they got to the financial clause, Mehmet explained a small additional formality. To speed up the first shipment, I need you to transfer an additional $30,000 to our joint account. This is to cover import costs and Turkish customs fees. It will be refunded in full with the payment for the first order. Sabine hesitated. $30,000 was a significant amount, even for the company. Why can't it come out of the order payment directly? The Turkish banking system is complicated for new partners, Mehmet explained patiently. They require importers to demonstrate available capital before processing large orders. It's bureaucracy, but it's necessary. The explanation sounded reasonable, and Mehmet had already demonstrated his own seriousness by investing $30,000 of his own money. All right, agreed Sabine. I can transfer it today. Perfect. As soon as the transfer is confirmed, I'll send the formal orders to my customers. On Monday, you'll have confirmation of the $67,000 purchase. At 2 p.m., Sabine made the transfer via online banking. $30,000 from the company account to the joint account Mehmet had set up. He followed the process, providing the account number and necessary codes. Done, she said when the confirmation appeared on the screen. Transfer completed. Mehmet hugged her enthusiastically. Sabine, you can't imagine how happy this makes me. We're officially in business together. But around 4 p.m., something strange happened. Thomas called, agitated. Mum, I need to talk to you urgently, alone. Thomas, Mehmet is here. We can talk later. Mom, please, it's about Mehmet's company. I found out some things. Sabine glanced at Mehmet, who was talking to Klaus about carpentry techniques. Okay, Mehmet, I need to take care of something with Thomas. Can you wait here? Sure, my love, I'll keep studying the production processes. Sabine went out to the patio and called Thomas back. What's so urgent? Mum, I hired a private investigator to check out Mehmet's company. You did what? Thomas, that's an insult. Mom, listen. Istanbul Premium Imports hasn't been around for 15 years. The company was only registered 14 months ago. The official address is a shared virtual office. They've never imported German furniture. Sabine felt the world spin. That must be a mistake. It's not a mistake, and there's more. The name Mehmet Özkan appears in at least 4 other online fraud investigations in Germany over the past 2 years. Different cities, different victims. Thomas, that's impossible. He's here in my factory. He invested $30,000 of his own money. Mom, what evidence do you have that he actually invested that money? Did you see the transfer happen? Or did you just see a document he showed you? The question hit Sabine like a punch. She had never independently verified Mehmet's transfer. She had just trusted the document he had shown her. Mom, please don't make any more transfers until we talk in person. I'm leaving Munich now. I'll be there in 2 hours. Sabine hung up with her hands shaking. She returned to the factory trying to maintain her composure, but her mind was spinning in panic. She watched Mehmet talking animatedly with Klaus about Brazilian wood. He seemed so normal, genuine. Everything okay? Mehmet asked when she approached him. Yes, just Thomas worrying about business details, Sabine lied. Understandable. He wants to protect his father's legacy. Around 6 p.m., when Klaus left, Sabine and Mehmet were alone in the office. She decided to test her suspicions discreetly. Mehmet, could you show me the document for your $30,000 transfer again? I want to file it with our contracts. Sure, he replied without hesitation, picking up the folder. Here it is. Sabine examined the document more carefully this time. Quality paper, bank letterhead, accurate numbers. But something bothered her. This bank, Türkiye İş Bankası, Where exactly is it in Istanbul? Mehmet seemed slightly surprised by the specific question. In the Beyoğlu area. Why? It was a generic answer. Sabine had researched Turkish banks during her market research and knew that Türkiye İş Bankası had dozens of branches in Istanbul. Just curious, is that the bank you always use? Yes, for years. They have excellent service for business people. But when Sabine looked at the document again, she noticed something that made her pause. The transfer date was wrong. The document showed March 21st, Thursday. But Mehmet had said he made the transfer on Thursday morning before visiting the factory. However, he had shown her the document on Wednesday during dinner. There was no way he could have had a document from Thursday on Wednesday. Sabine felt her blood run cold. Mehmet, can I see your cell phone for a moment? I want to show my friend Maria some photos of the factory. Sure, he replied, handing over the device without hesitation. Sabine opened the banking app, but when she tried to access it, she discovered that there was no Turkish banking app installed. In fact, there were no business-related apps, no communication with Turkish clients, nothing that indicated international business activity. Mehmet, she said slowly, your banking app isn't here. For the first time since she had arrived, Mehmet looked uncomfortable. Oh, I use a separate phone for business, security reasons. Where is that phone? At the hotel. I don't usually carry it with me when I'm relaxing. It was a plausible explanation, but added to the other inconsistencies. At that moment, Thomas arrived. Sabine heard his car in the driveway and felt relief and terror in equal measure. Sabine, my love, who's here? Mehmet asked. My son, Thomas. Thomas entered the office with a serious, determined expression. Good evening, he greeted Mehmet formally. Thomas, it's a pleasure to meet you at last. Your mother talks so much about you, but Thomas ignored the cordiality. Herr Özkan, could you show us your official identification, passport or ID card? Mehmet looked surprised. Excuse me? Identification. We are finalizing business contracts. It's standard procedure. Sabine realized that Thomas was deliberately testing Mehmet. The tension in the air became palpable. Of course, said Mehmet, pulling a Turkish passport from his briefcase. Here you are. Thomas examined the document carefully. Very carefully. This passport, he said slowly, was issued only 8 months ago. For someone who has been traveling internationally on business for 15 years, that's unusual. Mehmet maintained his composure. Routine renewal. The previous one expired. And you don't have any German identification? You said you studied here at the university. Only a temporary student visa. I'm not a resident. Thomas looked at Sabine, then back at Mehmet. Herr Özkan, my mother transferred $45,000 to accounts associated with you. I need to see official evidence of those accounts. Thomas, Sabine interjected, embarrassed. That's unnecessary. No, it's fine, Mehmet said calmly. I understand the concern. He took out his cell phone. I can access the bank account online to show you the deposits. But when he tried to log in, the connection failed. Internet problem, he explained. I can show you tomorrow at the hotel where I have better Wi-Fi. Or, Thomas said firmly, we can go to the hotel now. The silence that followed was heavy. Mehmet looked from Thomas to Sabine, calculating. Sabine looked from Mehmet to Thomas, torn between loyalty to the man she loved and trust in the son who was trying to protect her. Finally, Mehmet sighed. You don't trust me. We just want to verify some information, Thomas replied. If everything is correct, there's no problem. Mehmet nodded slowly. I understand. Let's go to the hotel then. But when they arrived at the Hotel Maximilian 20 minutes later, the night manager brought them shocking news. Herr Özkan checked out this afternoon at 3:30 p.m. He said his trip was cut short due to a family emergency. Sabine felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. That's impossible. He was with us just now. The manager checked the system. I have it here. Checked out at 3:30 p.m. Bill paid in full by credit card. Thomas turned to Mehmet, who had visibly paled. "Can you explain this?" Mehmet opened his mouth, closed it, tried to speak, gave up. That was when everything fell apart. Saturday, March 23rd. The brutal awakening. The night following the discovery at the hotel was the longest of Sabine's life. Mehmet had disappeared, literally evaporated the moment they were confronted with the inconsistency of the checkout. 1 second he was standing next to her, the next he was gone among the cars in the parking lot. Thomas immediately called the police. Detective Weber, a middle-aged man with decades of experience in fraud, arrived at the hotel at 11:30 p.m. "Unfortunately, this is a pattern we know well," said the detective, examining the documents Mehmet had left behind in his rush to flee. "International romance scam with elements of commercial fraud." "But he was here," insisted Sabine, still in shock. "Physically here. This can't be a common online scam." "No, ma'am, this is much more sophisticated. It's what we call a face-to-face scam, when online criminals take the next step and show up in person to complete large frauds." Detective Weber revealed devastating details. Mehmet's passport was fake, the bank documents were impressive forgeries, and Istanbul Premium Imports was a shell company created specifically for this type of scam. "The joint account you opened," the detective explained, was set up so that only he could access the funds. The $45,000 you transferred was immediately moved to offshore accounts in 3 different countries. Sabine felt as if she were living a nightmare. "What about the $30,000 he said he invested?" "It never existed. The document he showed you was forged. Very well forged, but fake." Thomas held his mother's hand as the detective continued to reveal the extent of the operation. "This man, whose real name we don't even know, is being investigated in at least 6 similar cases in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland." 6 cases. Businesswomen, usually widowed or divorced, always in the 45-55 age range. The pattern is always the same. Months of emotional grooming online, promises of lucrative business deals, declarations of love, then a face-to-face meeting for the final blow. The detective showed photos of other victims, women who looked like Sabine, women who had gone through exactly the same experience. This lady here in Vienna lost $78,000. This one in Zurich, $134,000. They all believed they were in love with a successful Turkish businessman. Sabine began to cry, not just for the financial loss, but for the devastating humiliation of having been so completely deceived. "The jewelry he gave me. Fakes. Approximate market value $50. The flowers, the expensive gifts, paid for with cloned credit cards. We found at least 12 different cards in his name in the last 6 months. Each revelation was like a stab in the heart. Everything, absolutely everything, had been an elaborate lie. How did he know so much about furniture, about our company? He seemed to really know the industry." Detective Weber sighed. "These criminals do extensive research. He probably studied your company for weeks before making first contact. Websites, social media, public records, even contacting former employees posing as potential customers. And the perfect German? Mehmet Özkan, or whatever his real name is probably German. We believe he is a German citizen of Turkish origin who uses his cultural identity as part of the scam." On Saturday morning, more details emerged. Mehmet had left clues in his rush to flee: a laptop hidden in the rental car, discarded credit cards, even a notebook with names and information on other potential victims. He was planning to pull the same scam on at least 8 other German women, Detective Weber revealed. "You were just the first on the list." Klaus, the veteran carpenter, had noticed inconsistencies during his visit to the factory that he hadn't commented on at the time. He asked the right questions, Klaus said, but his answers showed theoretical knowledge, not practical experience, like someone who had read about furniture, not someone who actually works in the industry. Maria arrived on Saturday morning and found Sabine devastated on the living room sofa. "Sabine, I'm so sorry. I wish I had insisted more." "You tried to warn me," Sabine whispered. "Thomas tried to warn me. I wanted to believe so badly. Anyone would have believed him. He was very convincing." But Sabine blamed herself mercilessly. How could she have been so naive? How could she not have seen the warning signs? How could she have let her desire for love and commercial success cloud her judgment? The financial aspect was devastating but not fatal. The $45,000 was almost all of Sabine's personal savings, but the company would survive. The emotional aspect, however, was much worse. "I really believed he loved me," she confessed to Thomas. "It wasn't just the money or the business. I thought I had found someone who understood me, who valued me." "Mum, this isn't your fault. These criminals are professionals at emotional manipulation." But the revelations kept coming. Detective Weber discovered that Mehmet had secretly filmed his visit to the factory and Sabine's home, probably to use as evidence of his legitimacy with future victims. The violation of her privacy made Sabine sick. Not only had her money and heart been stolen, her life had been turned into a tool to victimize others. A week later, Detective Weber brought an important update. We were able to identify his real name, Andreas Mertens, 37 years old, born in Düsseldorf, son of Turkish immigrants but completely German culturally. Andreas had been arrested at the Czech border while trying to flee to countries where Germany had no extradition agreements. In his car, they found $127,000 in cash, multiple fake IDs, and evidence of at least 14 similar scams across Europe. "The good news," said the detective, "is that we were able to freeze some accounts before he moved all the money. You can recover approximately $28,000. It was better than nothing, but the emotional wound remained open. 3 months later, during Andreas Mertens' trial, Sabine faced her tormentor in person for the first time since that night at the hotel. He looked smaller, more ordinary, without the manufactured charm he had used to seduce her. When called to testify, Sabine spoke not only about her own experience, but about the devastating impact this type of crime had on vulnerable women. "He didn't just steal my money," she told the judge. "He stole my ability to trust, my self-esteem, my faith that good people exist. The emotional damage lasts much longer than the financial loss." Andreas Mertens was sentenced to 6 years in prison on multiple counts of fraud, document forgery, and emotional extortion. Sabine gradually rebuilt her life. Keller Möbel not only survived, but thrived. Ironically, publicity from the case brought in new local customers who wanted to support a family-owned business that had faced adversity. She became an activist against romance scams, speaking at conferences about online safety and helping other victims recover. "If my experience can prevent other women from going through the same thing," she said, "then something positive has come out of all this pain." Thomas took on more responsibilities at the company, and mother and son developed a stronger business partnership. Klaus remained the heart of production, but now everyone was much more cautious about opportunities that seemed too good to be true. Maria remained the best friend she had ever had, never once saying, "I told you so." Instead, she supported Sabine through the difficult months of emotional recovery. 2 years later, Sabine still occasionally felt the urge to check if she had any messages from interesting men online. But now she knew exactly what questions to ask, what documents to check, and, most importantly, how to trust her instincts when something seemed too good to be true. The emotional scar remained, but it had turned into wisdom. And Sabine Keller, stronger and more cautious, continued to build her family's legacy, now protected from Prince Charmings who arrive with promises of gold and intentions of lead. Epilogue. Today, Andreas Mertens is serving his sentence in a medium-security prison in Germany. Authorities estimate that he defrauded more than $2.3 million from 23 victims across Europe over 4 years. Sabine Keller recovered $31,000 through the victim compensation system and seized funds. Her company, Keller Möbel, has doubled in size since the incident and now employs 15 people. If you suspect you are a victim of a romance scam, seek help immediately. True love never asks for money up front.